This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, all. So, hope you guys practiced whatever we covered, right? Great. Okay. So, yeah, a little okay. So, how to see all list of string methods? List of string methods. I want to check all the methods now, string methods. How we can check? No idea. Yeah, dir of str. See, I told all classes, right? In the source code, there are a lot of means every variable is defined as a one class. So like str is a class, tuple is a class, list is a class. For this, all the classes, you can simply use dir of that class name. So there are two things. One, if you are using dir of, then that class name, it will give you all the list of methods. So it will display all the methods. But let's say now, if you are using any module, so try to understand. Module means what? We understood that some piece of code which we write in a separate Python script. So module also Python script only. It's another Python script. But we write that piece of code separately, which we are going to use multiple times for reuse. So if you have a module, from the module, if you want to see the properties, we use dir only. But the syntax is like this. Import module name. This is mandatory. And then later we use dir of module name. So this is the difference. So sometimes we'll get a confusion. So here we are using dir of str, right? So example, dir of str. So if you want to print from the script file, then you can use print dir of str like this. So it will give you all the string methods. We're not importing anything, so we don't need to import for this class. We can simply write like this. So now what it prints here? It prints string methods. So it display string methods. Same thing, let's say now I want to see all the list of list methods. This is the one. Getting my point. So this is what, if you are aware of what is the class name we discussed, I think session or second or third session. And then you can simply use that name. It's not string, it's a str just. What it display? Display list methods. Now, what is this module about? So we discussed already some of the modules like a keyword module, for example. So example here, if you want to see the keyword module properties, now see, I'm not using the name called method, I'm using the name called properties. So why I'm using that name properties? Now in the module, the property can be anything. It can be a function, it can be a variable, it can be a method. Okay, so that's why here whenever if you are using module, we call it as a properties. So module contains properties. That can be a method also. That can be a function also. That can be a variable also. But strings, str is a class. It contains methods. Okay, now see here. Example, import keyword. We discussed this. And then how to check the dir of the keyword properties, then dir of keyword. If you want to print from the script file, then you can write print of dir of keyword. So there is the difference. So hope it is clear. Anyway, modules we will see deep dive. We will discuss how to write our own module, where we can see the built-in modules, how to install third party. We will work with more and more modules. Okay, but just like instead of getting confusion, what is the difference between this? Like, see, if you use dir of str, you think sometimes it is also module. It's actually class. So we need to know that the difference, what exactly the class and what exactly the module, right? So if you are using module, the syntax should be like this to see all the properties. But if you are just using any class, then you can simply use dir of a class. Yeah, modules always we should use import keyword to import the module. That is correct, right? Without import, only one module it will import, that is built-in by default. But the remaining any module if you write, then we should use this keyword. So this is a keyword to import the module. But for any class, you don't need to do that. You can simply check dir of that class. So in the last session, we actually discussed that the string methods, and then we understood some of the things like, if you see mutable, immutable, iterable, non-iterable, functions, methods, differences. Also we understood strings, how we can access the characters, these all things. So if you see like briefly what we covered from session 1, just for 2 minutes revised. So we started with Python basics in the session 1, and then we understood the differences between Python 2-point versions and 3-point versions, the differences, and especially print function, how we are using the print function, arguments, those things we discussed. And we understood from where we generally install Python, the Python installation, the different Python distributions, and how to check the Python version, and then the differences between other programming languages and Python, the coding style, how we write in Python, and then comparing with other languages, we understood that it is very less code here. So that examples also we covered. And also we understood that the built-ins importance. So every time internally it will import that. And then we discussed how to write a Python script and how to write the comments. These are the things we covered. And session 2, so we have discussed more about print function, and then what is variable, how to define a variable, and then how to check the data type of the variable. So these are the things we covered in the session 2. And session 3, we have discussed more about types of variables, the different types of variables. And I told scalar like list, tuple, dictionary, set, and result keywords in Python, how to check. So we understood that these result keywords, which we cannot use as a variable name, because this is more important. Sometimes by mistake, we define something n equal to 10. Do not accept. So why do not accept? We should aware of it. So that is a result keyword. So how to check the result keywords we discussed. And then we understood how to convert the data type, one data type to another data type, and then how to take input from the keyboard using with input. So here you can see we discussed that the different types of classes means internally in the source code, it defined as a class, str is a class. And then we understood how to write Python script on Linux operating system. So session 4, we discussed that. And then also we started with strings, the different types, single quoted string, double quoted string, quoting rules. So these are the things. And in the last session, okay, so session 5 actually we covered more about strings only. So we understood mutable, immutable, iterable, non-iterable, the differences between functions and methods, those things, right? So any questions here, anyone? Okay, so now we will see string methods, how to use. Okay, so this is simple if you are aware of how to check the syntaxes and all. So as I told, see, if you want to check any class method, simply we use dir. So this is the first step. So string methods. Try to understand, simply we can use, let's say if you write from the script file, print is required. But if you are using from interactive mode, then you can simply use dir of that str. So now let me go here, cd and then path. Okay, now you can see here, if you go to the interactive mode, Python, if you just type Python, it will go interactive mode, right? So you can just type dir of str from here. So we will get all the list of string methods. But let's say if you are just executing the same thing from the script file, simply we cannot use dir. So print also required here. So print dir of str. This is how we will get. So now I'm trying to execute the Python and then script name session 6 and then script.py. Now you can see all the string methods it is printing. So let's say now, for example, I'm not aware what is this string method, capitalize something case or like that. So there is no problem for that also. See, now you can simply use dir of str to get all the list of string methods. But if you want to understand each and every method, we can use help of str here. So if you're using help of str, you can see this is a class str. And then if you go down and then you can see somewhere like here, what this method is. It will give you the complete documentation about this. You can see now, is alum, for example. What it is doing, return true if the string is an alphanumeric string, false otherwise. So we can simply understand that this is not a rocket science here, just with the name we can understand. It is simple, straight away one line. It is simply saying that, okay, if you are testing something, some variable, if it is not an alphanumeric, okay, it will give you false. If it is alphanumeric, then it will be true like that. So example, see now, for example, this is something is alum. Let's say now I'm just typing something a equal to, only I'm just writing 1 2 3 4 as a string. So now a dot, the syntax is we know. So this is a method. It should be variable name dot method name. We discussed in the last session the reason and all. So I'm just using now is ALNUM, and then there is a method open and closed parenthesis required. Now see, it is just giving true. So this is the alphanumeric. It is saying like that. So means what? If you are not writing instead of digit or instead of characters, then it will print it's not alphanumeric, false, something like that. So now let me write. So for example, so there is a one more is alpha. Now if you check is alpha, so is alpha I'm checking. So this is false because it's not alphabet. So what is this? Is alpha means it is true if the string is alphabet string. So it's not alphabet string, it is actually digit. So that is why it is giving false. But if I write something like x equal to, let's say Python. So this is now alphabet. So now it will give you true. So just I'm giving idea. Okay. So this is how we actually use these methods. These are just simple methods we can directly understand with the method name itself. But also if we are not understanding, we can also check the documentation with dir here. Getting the point, right? The dir is just giving the dir, just it will give you the methods list. But if you want to see the documentation, we can use just help. So print help of str. So dir display string methods, help of str display documentation about the methods. Okay, so now let me just copy some methods we will see here. So generally usage methods here. So we regularly use some of the methods from here. What those methods? You can also go through other methods like with the help of that method name. But generally here, see the important methods. So, okay, so you try to understand if anything starts with is, it will just checks the Boolean value. So is digit, is decimal, is lower, is upper, something like that. So it will give you just a Boolean value. So we just discussed something like x equal to, let's say I have a string Python. I want to check print x dot. So what I want to check is alpha. So if it is alphabet, then it will give you true like that. So anything if it starts with is, then it will just check like that. But now the important methods here. So here we use upper method regularly. We use lower method, and then we use strip method. This is more important. Yeah, strip. It's a strip. And then strip also contains L strip or strip. And then we do have a important method here, split. Split is more and more and more important, we can say. Regularly we use the split method and join method as well. And there is a replace method, so we also use replace method sometimes. So these methods are more important because every time we use, whenever if you are using strings, most of the times we use this. But as I told, that if you know the syntax, any method is simple. So now you can see, let's say now we do have a title method. Let me write that as well. So now we can see this upper method based on the name itself, we can simply understand. So it is not is upper. Is upper means it will give you Boolean value, true or false. But if you are using upper method, it will convert the data into uppercase. For example, see, I have a string here, x equal to Python. I want to convert this string into uppercase. You can just use print x dot upper. That's it. So the syntax is you have to know. We are not using upper of x because it's not a function, it's a method, right? So variable name dot method name. So tell me, is it replaced in the x variable itself? Did it replaced in x variable now? So what will be the x value here? Any guess? What will be the x value?
Uppercase Python.
Python.
Capital
Right?
Python.
Because it's a,
Uppercase Python.
no. X is not uppercase Python. X is just Python, what we have already in the string, means in the variable. We understood strings immutable. It never replaces in the original object. So if you just write x dot upper, this is just to display purpose, but it will not reflect in the original object. Remember that. So strings are immutable. It will not replace in the original object. So x still it contains what lowercase Python only, but only the second line, since we are printing x dot upper, it will print in uppercase, but it will not replace in the original object. Try to understand, this is important, because again the next concept, if I start list concept, I'll get a lot of confusion. So it's totally different. So strings, it will not replace in the original object, just display. But if you write the same style in list, it will reflect in original object because list is immutable. Okay, so now here see, this is just to display, but let's say now I want to take in a variable. You can write a variable. Let's say now I want to take something k equal to, or you can also use x equal to, but the problem is what? It will overwrite, it will delete the existing object and it will create a new object here. Okay, so that's why we generally use another variable k equal to x dot upper. You can write like this and then print k. So now k contains uppercases because we defined that in a variable now. So now I can see this is a uppercase. Try to understand any method in strings if you are using, it never reflect in original object. This is only just for display purpose because string is immutable. It will not reflect in original object. Okay, the same way you can use lower method to convert into lowercase. So I hope you can understand easily, like lower means it will convert into lowercase. Then what is title? So title is something, for example, assume, okay, I have a something string like this. I have a string Python script. Yeah, Python script. And then title means it will automatically convert every word first character into uppercase. So every word first character means what? X dot title. It will convert here P from the first word P into uppercase, from the second word S into uppercase. So that is generally the title format. It just converts like that. You can see it is just converted capital P, capital S. But again, just to display, it will not will reflect in original variable. So means X is still it contains lower cases, Python script on. Okay, now what is strip? Okay, so strip is important. So we use again in the file handling concepts. So means whenever if you are reading the data, from the file, generally the data it comes with new lines. So we'll see that use cases and all. We are still in basics. Okay. So like if you want to delete those new lines, we use a strip methods. So strip method is more important. So we should know what is the purpose we are using and then how we are using these other things. The simple way here, see, we will just define one string and then we will try to understand. So let me write this x equal to Python script. Okay. So now try to understand the strip method. It will trim the white spaces. So it is used to trim the white spaces. Is it to trim the white spaces? So white spaces means it can be a space, it can be a tab space, it can be a new line. White space means it can be a space or a tab space or new line. So if you want to delete space or a tab space or new line, we use strip. But where it deletes, it will not delete in between the string. It will not delete in between the string, remember. So which means now this space it will be there as it is. But only it deletes before the string, after the string. So if we have any white spaces before the string, or if we have any white spaces after the string, those white spaces it deletes. Now see here, I'm just writing one space here and then I'm giving one new line. So I told white space means it can be a space or it can be a new line or it can be a tab space. Now I'm just giving only space and then new line. So if I print just X, what it prints, it will print one space, then Python space script, then new line. So we will also see whether it is printing new line or not. So now if you observe here, it is just giving one space here and then one new line also printing. But if you know strip method, it will delete that white spaces before and after the string. So I'm using now print x dot strip. So if you are using print x dot strip, from the string x it is trimming the white spaces. Now if you check again output here, the x variable, first it is printing one space and then one new line. But if you observe now here, there is no space before Python and then there is no new line as well after script. It is deleted. So strip method is doing that. Let's say sometimes like see, I don't want to delete right side, I want to delete only left side. Then we can use L strip. So if I'm using L strip here, L strip means only left side it deletes. I want to delete only right side, you can use R strip. So R strip means only right side it deletes. Now I can check this. See, so here it is deleted. It deleted what? Left side. And then last one you can see it deleted right side. So R strip, L strip also we can use based on the requirements. In case if you want to delete only right side or only left side like that. So this is about strip. Remember again it will repeat in the file handling. Again we will use this. So there you will understand what exactly the use of this. But as of now, what we understood that okay, strip method we are using to trim the white spaces. But this all the methods again it will repeat based on the requirements in the coming sessions. Okay. Now split and join. So this is more and more important. So the reason, let's say now for example, if you are in Linux operating system, especially if you're in Linux operating system, in Linux operating system, everything we generally use delimiters. For example, let's take this example like etc password file. So etc password file. So what etc password file contains? /etc/password. What it contains generally in Linux?
Password?
It contains user details, right? So it contains user details but not the passwords, because passwords available under shadow file. So etc password file contains user details. Okay, it just contains user details, all the user information available here. But password password information available under shadow file. Okay, I'm talking about only user details. So generally user details, if you observe, there will be 7 fields, right? Let me show you that. Just I'm using some online terminal, random terminal. Okay, so I'll also show you that in Linux later, but just for this understanding split method now, because we use Linux most of the times this. So now if you check cat/etc/password here, you can see, let me take last one, tile -1, I'm just using. So if you observe here, so this password file contains user details. So this is one of the user now. Assume this is the one user SN something. If you see here, how many fields available? So field means based on the delimiter. So the delimiter is colon here. It's a field separator. So based on this colon, we can say this is the first field, username, encrypted password second field, user ID third field, group ID fourth field, GCOS information fifth field, and the default home directory sixth field. and the default shell seventh field. So there are 7 fields total. So etc passcode file contains, there are 7 fields. So now in these 7 fields, I don't want to print all the 7 fields. I want to print only the first field, which is username. So how we do that in Linux generally? What is the command we use? So there are different commands, of course. So we can use cut command, we can use awk command. Let me show you. Let just we use like this based on the colon. Cut I am using. Awk also we can use. So cut -d means delimiter, and first field I am trying to print, that is S. So basically what requirement is here, I don't want to print the complete string. I want to print complete user details. I want to print only the username. But that is the first field. So we are giving -f1, which means field 1 based on this delimiter. But now I don't want to use this all the commands. I just want to get directly using with Python. So if you want to split, say if you want to just get the SVN only username, instead of using this all the commands, we can simply use split here. So how, for example, see user details. I'm just trying to write here user info something equal to. So we know username and then encrypted password, something user ID, and then something group ID, and something GGOS information here, and the default home directory, and then default shell. So I'm just writing bin bash. So this is the user detail. 7 fields are there. Now split method we are using to split based on the delimiter. So colon is a delimiter here. So if you print just user info, it will print the complete information. Info. Let me write like this, info. So it will print the complete information about this user. But we need only the username. Instead of the complete name, instead of complete information, I want to print only username. So we use the split method. So how we are using, let's say now k equal to some variable name I define, user info dot split. But split method, if you're not giving anything, by default it understands space is the default delimiter. Try to understand. If you're not giving any delimiter, it understands space is a default delimiter. But what is the delimiter here? Colon. Colon is a delimiter. Other than space, we should provide explicitly the delimiter here between these quotes. So which means what? I am splitting now based on the colon, but not based on the space. So if you split based on the colon, so here this is a single string now, but if you split it, wherever there is a colon, it will split that. Okay, so here it will split, and here it will split, and here it will split, here it will split. And then you can see the final output, it will be a 7 strings now, because etc password file contains 7 fields, right? So now you can see the first, second, third, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now what it will be, k, it will be now list. List, it contains 7 strings. It splitted single string into multiple strings based on the colon delimiter. And then k now, it contains 7 strings here. Now if we check here, so this is important actually, we should understand because we are going to use multiple times. So print k. Now I'm trying to print now. So k, it contains what? 7 strings. You can see now this is in a list format. Okay, so what is the use of this list? I don't want list, right? I want actually the expectation is done. So once if you split it into list, now you can use just k of 0, that is index number. Now if you check, it will just print done. Okay, you may ask, okay, like the command itself is easy comparing with this, it is just single line command. Of course, you can also use here one single line, but just for our understanding, I explain these many lines. But That is not required. Now you can see only you can use simply like split method, separate, split, and then from here get 0. That's it. So what it is printing now, it just prints John. But how many lines here? See, so this is in detail, right? So means what, we splitted first, and then the splitted data we assigned in a variable, and then we printed that what actually that data contains, and after that we accessed the 0th index. But instead of that, you can directly split it and then you can access the 0th index, which is John 8 prints. Getting my point? So this is how we use split method. So split method for Linux especially, most of the files if you see in Linux operating system, it will be like fields, either based on the colon or based on the tab space, it will be like that. So if you want to access any specific field, and then we can simply use this split method and we can access the data. Okay, so this is more useful in real time generally. And then also see now, for example, as I told that, okay, if you are not using any delimiter, by default it will take space delimiter, right? So let's say for example, some string I'm writing str1 equal to, so Unix shell Python, okay, Java, like this I'm writing. So now here if you observe, space we have, so Unix space shell space Python space like that. So now if you check, for example, k equal to str1 dot split, you don't need to use any delimiter now because space is the default delimiter, and then it will split automatically based on this space. You can see Unix shell Python Java, so there are 4 strings now in a list. Even in Linux, cut command also, if you have a tab space or space, you don't need to use this. By default it will split. Even awk also, right? So this is a default delimiter here. So the default delimiter is space, right? Now sometimes we use based on the patterns. Patterns means, let's say now for example I have a multiple digits and multiple special characters combination. For that we cannot use directly string split, but we have another concept called regular expressions. So using with the regular expressions, in the regular expressions again we have another method called split method. So that method we can use for patterns matching. So pattern means what, let's say I have a something dollar symbol and I have a something like a question mark and multiple delimiters I have. Or else let's say I have a delimiter colon, comma, semicolon in one single string. Then you can use that regular expression split method to split based on any delimiter. But that is not possible here in the string split method. String split method, it understands at a time only one delimiter. If you have a, for example, here colon, let's say now colon something like SQL, and try to understand. So this split method now, it is only understanding based on the spaces, but not based on the colon. If you are giving a colon, it will only understand the colon, but not the spaces, any one delimiter. But this type of things, if you want to write, then we use a regular expressions. Okay, that we will see later, but I'm only covering here string split method. Okay, now hope you understood this. Okay, now if you see, what is then join method here? So join method, let's say I have a 10 strings. I want to join all the 10 strings as a single string. 10 strings as a single string. Then we use join method. So which means multiple strings to single string, which is join. Single string to multiple strings, split. Getting my point? So now for example, see, okay, now if you observe here in this, let me write here space. What K contains? K contains list of strings. So this is the K, Unix Shell, Python, Java, SQL. There are 5 strings. So these 5 strings I want to join as a single string. Then we use here join method. So join method. So there are 5 strings, but based on what delimiter you want to join it. Let's say I want to join this based on the space. These 5 strings as a single string I want to join as a based on the space, or based on the colon, or based on the comma, or based on whatever. So if you want to join with some specific delimiter, that delimiter we should provide here first. So now I'm trying to join based on the space, then dot join of k. So if you check now, x is a string, which is a single string, it joined all the 5 strings with the space. For example, if you want to join based on something colon, so you can use colon, then dot join of k, and then you can see print x1. Now again check here, it joined based on the colon. Getting my point? Okay, now we'll see one simple use case, very simple use case. For example, okay, assume I have some variable, something info equal to or file info. So this file info having something when the file created. So 19th December 2022. Assume the file contains some data like this, something like source IP, source port number, destination IP, destination port number. So some random IP I'm taking just for our understanding, 192.161.1.10. Some random port number I'm taking. So whether it is a valid or not valid, no matter, but just we are understanding one string here with this information. And the same way, I'm treating this is the source IP and source port number, and I'm just writing one destination IP and destination port number. Let's assume this is the destination IP, destination port number. And then something, there is a some web.cj, some info here. So this is a complete string, right? Now the requirement here, from this string, I want to take only source IP, source port number, destination IP, destination port number separately as a string. Okay, so as a string, it's not like a list. I want to take as a string. But try to understand if you are using slicing method, something like that, that will be again hard coded. So why we can say hard coded? Hard coded means what? Hard code means it only works for this scenario. Let's say tomorrow, if a port number changes to something 8000, that slicing method, it will not work because the range is changed. So when you write this type of things, we should write dynamically instead of just hard coded, right? So which means what we understood here, okay, slicing concept, it will not work. And then how? Any guess? So the first step, we should split. And then once if you split it, we can join only these 4 strings. So means the 4 values, whatever, source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port, we can join it. But we have to use both here, right? Split and join. So now first, let's say for example, x1 equal to something file underscore info dot split. So anyway, it's a space only. So space by default delimiter. We no need to provide the delimiter also. So I'm just using directly split. So what x1 contains now? X1 contains this list of values now. So this will be a first string, second, third, fourth, five, six strings now. Now you can see there are 6 strings. But requirement now, only we have to take this source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port separately. So for our understanding, I am just taking first only those details separately in another variable. So x1 of, tell me what is the index number now. Only the selected values if I want to take, what will be the range now? What will be the index here? X1 of, is it 1-4? How we use 1:4? Okay, so index number 1, index number 2, index number 3, index number 4. But the last session we discussed, if I use 1:4, is it accepts fourth index or is it excludes?
It will exclude.
Yeah, so what will be the syntax then? 1:5. See, we should know that, right? So here see 1:5, it should be 1:5 but not 1:4. So now if we check print x2, then x2 it will print what? It just prints as a list. It's a list only. It's a list only as a list, but source IP, source port, destination IP, destination. But our requirement, I want to print as a string. So what we do now, x3, another variable I'm taking. See, we don't need this many variables, but just we are elaborating that, right? So now if you check here, I'm just giving a space dot join of x2 and then print x3. Now x3, it is a single string which contains only the expected result. So this is how we use a combination of split and join methods based on the requirements. I hope this one clear now, right? Any questions here, anyone? The only thing is, while accessing the range, you should know the last one always it excludes, right? So that we should aware of it, so that it comes based on the practice. So hope it is clear. Any questions here?
Sir, usually this IP address, we write with IP address, then colon and the port number. But we are using right now in a single string. Then what is the use cases of this one here?
Yes, in case whenever if you want to take multiple values as a single value, so then we use this. That's the thing actually I'm just giving. I don't want to take multiple values. I want to take as a single. So just example, I provided this.
Okay.
Yes, Rohit. So from list to string, we should use Jan. But again, it's not the list. It's the list of strings. Okay, now see here again. Now, if you observe, there are two things. List means what? List, it contains collection of values, right? For example, k1 equal to, if I just write 10, 20, 30, 40, we cannot join this. The reason is k1 it contains list of integer values. Now, for example, say k2 equal to, I'm just giving space dot join of k1 and then print the k2. It will not accept because join is not a list method. Join is a string method. So it is checking now, okay, this is a list, but is this list of values or strings or not? It's not a string, it's not a string, it's not a string, it's not a string. Simply it will give you error message saying that sequence item 0 expected string in instance int form. So which means what? We cannot simply use list, but if you observe once, if you split it, this all actually treated like a string. Okay, which means if in case if this is a 10 like this, and 20 here, and 30 here, and then 40 here, then only it accepts. So list of strings, it will join as a single string. So join method, it's a string method. If in case if we have a list of strings, we can join that as a single string. Getting my point? So we cannot simply use for the list. So here if you observe, since we are using split method, by default it's splitted as a multiple strings. And then from there we use this join method, it joined as a single string. Okay. Yeah. So from list of strings to single string, that is correct. So sometimes like if you just think like list to string, and then again we will get a confusion. So now it is correct, from list of strings to single string. Okay. So replace method. So replace method is just like this. Like if we have a something Python string, I want to replace P with Z. So we already discussed this. Like if you want to just print replace of P with Z, then we can use this. But it will not reflect in original object. The original object is still, it will be a Python. So now you can see this is the way, right? So hope it is clear now. So there is one more method generally we use like a F string, how we are using, but the some more like advanced style format method we have. So where is that format here? Yeah, this is the one. So format method generally, okay, so I'm just giving idea now, but anyway, we will use that in the functions again, we will see. But now just to try to understand how exactly the format we are using. So format method. So the different ways we can use. So we already discussed something F string. So F string, how we are using. So just try to understand this. Let's say I have a str1 equal to, and I'm just starting with what, okay, so, or else something name equal to John, and then print. So we use F string, something my name is, and then curly brackets name. So this is the way we use actually F string. So it will just give you this variable value here, right? My name is John. But sometimes what we do, let's say I want to print, instead of defining in separate variable, I want to directly take that. Like variable also, variable details also in the with the print statement itself. Or let me take something variable name, but while writing in the variable itself, I want to take these complete details. So let's say for example here, I'm just writing my name is, and then I'm going to take something here. Let's say name one. Okay, so assume this is a name one. Also, I'm writing some age. And then I'm just writing something age here. So you try to understand. So something my name is name one, comma I am age. So it is expecting now two variables. We're not defining any variable initially, right? So what we can do, we can just use here itself dot format, and then I want to take name one. So I can just define here name one equal to something done, comma a is equal to something 25. So this is one way. So if you observe here, this is a string. My name is name one. So it will search for this name one from format. name one, it will take John. Age is 25. Now I'm trying to print X here. Now see the output here. It is just printing my name is John. I am 25. Or else let's say, okay, if you think this is taking like name John like that some time here, we can also do something x1 equal to, we can also use just index style. So my name is, simply you can use 0 index number and then comma I am and then index number is 1. So if you are using 0 and then 1 and then dot format, you can simply provide directly value now. So John comma 25. This is another way. Either you can use, if you want to specify exact name, you can specify it, or you can simply use index base 0, 1 like this. So it is, we need to print it. So print x1. So if you check now, it will print again same result. So there is no difference basically, but only the difference is we are not defining the variable name. We are just writing the value, but it is understanding based on the index. But these are traditional ways, but no one use like this actually. So simply we use directly without defining anything. So how it is? So you can just write my name is and then put a just curly bracket. You don't need to write anything. And then just just curly bracket. Like how we are using F string, the same style. But F string also, if you see, we are defining a variable, but we are not defining anything here. Just a curly bracket, that's it. So what it understands now, if you write format now, format of something like, if you just define this John, it understands, okay, first value to the first curly bracket, second value to the second curly bracket line. So print x2. Now check here, but if you are not using format, it will not give you. Format is required. So format you can simply use. You don't need to write variable name, you don't need to write indexes. So this is the way we generally write. These two are just traditional way. So no one follow this traditional way. Generally we follow this style. So now you can see format of Jan 25, it is giving this. So this is the way we use the format method here. But this is also important. So you will get idea once if I start functions. So generally how we can format these strings and all. So there you will understand the importance of this format. Getting the point, right? How exactly we are using this. So these are the string methods. So I go through it because these methods are important. As I told, whenever if you are starting with whenever if you like see something, file handling, regular expressions, functions, these concepts again it will repeat. But if you are not aware again, these all are actually again you will get a confusion. Okay. So tomorrow we'll start operators concept. Operators are more important for conditional statements and loops. So if you're from non-programming background, operators, conditional statements, loops, you need to concentrate more. If you're already good in any other programming language, okay. Or else the operators concept, conditional statements, loops. So next 3 to 4 sessions need to concentrate more because we are going to cover all the conditional statements, some use cases, loops, then some use cases. Also, I will provide some tasks as well once if I start conditional statements. So these are something like, programming style, basically, logics we should think, right? So if you think that, like if you understand those concepts, it will be easy for the remaining things. So whatever we discussed as of now, it's just straightforward, but conditional statements, loops, not like that. We should think it, right? Yeah. So we'll see that. Any questions now? Yeah, so we'll stop today and then we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you all then. Have a great day. Yeah, thank you.